Sienna Clark never imagined that 8 crumpled dollars could hold the power to rewrite her entire life. Yet there she stood under the flickering lights of a rundown gas station, staring at the last money she had in the world. $8 meant breakfast for her 6-year-old daughter, Maya. $8 meant one more morning without hunger, one more moment of pretending everything was okay. The parking lot was quiet, the kind of silence that feels heavy late at night when the world seems to forget people like her. She was exhausted, her feet aching from a double shift, her mind running numbers she already knew wouldn't add up. Then she heard it. A sharp, desperate gasp that cut through the stillness. Not the sound of an engine or laughter, but a man struggling to breathe. Near a chrome motorcycle lay a massive biker, tattoos covering his arms, leather vest stretched across his chest, the unmistakable skull emblem of the Hell's Angels catching the light. His face was turning gray. His chest barely moved. He was dying right there on the pavement. Sienna froze. Every warning she'd ever heard screamed in her head. Don't get involved. Walk away. Think of your child. From the gas station doorway, the attendant shouted that the man was trouble, that bikers like him weren't worth the... But Sienna couldn't look away. She didn't see the vest or the reputation. She saw a human being slipping away. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory, reminding her that kindness doesn't ask who deserves it. With shaking hands, Sienna made her choice. She ran inside, spent her last $8 on aspirin and water, and knelt beside a stranger she didn't know, refusing to let him die alone. She had no idea that this single act would echo far beyond that parking lot. She didn't know that by sunrise, her quiet street would be flooded with motorcycles. She didn't know her name would soon be spoken by people who rarely forgot a debt. All she knew in that moment was this: if she walked away, she would never forgive herself. And sometimes the smallest decision carries the heaviest consequences. To understand why Sienna made that choice, you have to understand the life she was living long before that gas station. Every morning, her alarm rang at 5, not because she wanted it to, but because survival demanded it. She lived in a tiny apartment with peeling paint and unreliable heat, sharing one bedroom with Maya, whose quiet resilience broke Sienna's heart daily. Breakfast was always measured, every ounce of milk stretched, every cereal box shaken to coax out one last serving. Sienna never ate in the mornings. There was never enough. She worked 2 jobs, folding clothes at a laundromat during the day and serving late-night diners to truckers and strangers who barely noticed her exhaustion. Her car had broken down weeks earlier, so she walked miles every day in worn shoes with holes in the soles, counting steps instead of dollars. Rent was overdue. The landlord was losing patience. Maya's asthma inhaler needed refilling, and the price felt impossible. Yet Sienna rarely complained. She learned early that complaining didn't keep the lights on. What kept her going was her daughter and a promise she'd made to herself to never let bitterness harden her heart. Every night, no matter how defeated she felt, she wrote 3 things she was grateful for in a small notebook by her bed. That night, she had written Maya's smile, another day survived, and hope. The walk home from the diner was long and dark, and cutting through the gas station parking lot felt like a harmless shortcut. She didn't know she was walking toward a moment that would test everything she believed about fear, kindness, and sacrifice. Sienna had nothing extra to give, no savings, no safety net. Yet when faced with a man dying alone, she gave anyway. That was who she was when no one was watching. And the universe, in its strange and unpredictable way, was about to watch very closely. The man wasn't breathing when Sienna knelt beside him, her heart pounding louder than the buzzing lights above. She shouted for help, but the parking lot emptied instead, strangers choosing distance over responsibility. Even the attendant refused to intervene, warning her again that this wasn't her problem. Sienna ignored him. She dialed 911 with a phone barely holding a signal, the call dropping once before finally connecting. She didn't wait. She twisted open the aspirin bottle, coaxed the man to chew the tablets, and held the water to his lips while whispering encouragement like a prayer. His grip on her hand was weak but desperate, as if he knew she was the only thing keeping him tethered to life. When sirens finally pierced the night, relief flooded her chest so hard it hurt. Another biker arrived, panic etched across his face as he knelt beside the fallen man and realized what Sienna had done. The paramedics confirmed it moments later. The aspirin, given in time, had saved him. As they loaded the biker onto the stretcher, he looked at Sienna with eyes full of gratitude and whispered words she wouldn't forget. "Thank you. You saved my life." A younger man named Cole handed her a plain business card, asking her to call the next day, explaining only that the man she saved was someone important. Sienna walked home afterward with $1.50 left in her pocket and uncertainty weighing heavy on her chest. She wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake, if kindness had crossed into recklessness. Yet when she kissed Maya goodnight and watched her sleep, she knew one thing for certain. She could live without $8. She couldn't live with letting someone die when she had the power to help. Morning came too fast. Sienna woke to neighbors whispering, judgment spreading faster than facts ever do. Word had traveled that she'd helped a Hell's Angel, and fear followed close behind. People warned her she'd invited danger into the neighborhood, that kindness like hers was naive. Even those who cared about her questioned her decision. Doubt crept in, quiet and relentless. At work, she folded clothes with shaking hands, replaying every moment in her mind. When she finally answered the call from Cole and agreed to meet, she didn't expect what awaited her. The diner parking lot was filled with motorcycles, dozens of them lined up with military precision. Inside, silence fell as she entered, every biker standing in respect as she walked past. Hawk, the man whose life she saved, told her his story. He spoke of his daughter, Lily, lost to illness years earlier, and a promise he made to honor kindness wherever he found it. Sienna listened, overwhelmed, unsure why she deserved any of this attention. Hawk told her to trust him, that something would happen the next day, and she left more confused than before. That night, fear followed her home. The neighborhood buzzed with rumors, curtains drawn, parents pulling children inside. Sienna lay awake, holding Maya close, wondering if she had misjudged everything. She had only tried to do the right thing. What she didn't know was that the fear building around her was about to be replaced with something far stronger. The sound of engines shook the street at dawn. Sienna rushed to the window and saw motorcycles stretching as far as she could see, lining her block like a wall of chrome and leather. Panic erupted among the neighbors. Phones came out. Police were threatened to be called. Accusations flew toward Sienna as she stood frozen, her daughter clutching her hand. Then Hawk stepped forward, his presence calm, his voice steady. He explained why they were there. He told the neighbors about Lily's legacy, the nonprofit he founded after losing his daughter, about the families they'd helped, the lives they'd rebuilt. One by one, people recognized the name. Stories poured out. Gratitude replaced fear. Hawk pointed to Sienna and told everyone the truth, that she saved his life with her last $8, that she didn't know who he was, that she acted without expectation of reward. Silence fell heavy and sacred. Apologies followed. Hawk handed Sienna an envelope containing a check that erased her immediate struggles and a job offer that promised stability for the first time in years. Tears streamed down her face as neighbors applauded. ashamed of their judgment, inspired by her courage. The street that once whispered fear now buzzed with hope. In the days that followed, Sienna's world transformed. Furniture replaced what was broken. Groceries filled empty cabinets. Maya received a real bed, toys, and medical care without fear of cost. Sienna accepted the role of community outreach coordinator, a job built around empathy rather than exhaustion. Hawk explained that her struggle wasn't a weakness but a qualification. She knew what it meant to choose between bills and food, medicine and rent. She became the bridge between people in need and the help they never thought would come. Together, they opened Clark House, a community center in her neighborhood offering food, training, and medical support. Sienna watched strangers become neighbors, fear turn into unity. She saw firsthand how kindness multiplied when given the chance to breathe. Every family she helped reminded her of that night at the gas station and the power of one decision. Months passed and Sienna's story spread far beyond her street. Videos went viral. Critics questioned motives, but testimonials drowned out the doubt. Veterans found housing. Children received surgeries. Parents slept easier knowing help existed. Sienna never sought the spotlight. She simply showed up day after day, listening, advocating, caring. Hawk recovered fully, often reminding her that Lily would be proud. The work wasn't glamorous, but it was meaningful. Each life changed reaffirmed what Sienna already knew. Kindness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly, reshaping lives one choice at a time. Sienna's journey began with $8 and a choice. She could have walked away, many would have. Instead, she leaned into compassion when fear offered an easier path. Today, her life stands as proof that kindness is never wasted, even when it costs everything you have. As you listen to this story, ask yourself who might need your help today. Not money, not recognition, just presence and humanity. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it, talk about it. Subscribe for more stories that remind us who we can be at our best. And when the moment comes for you to choose between fear and kindness, remember Sienna Clark, standing in a gas station parking lot with $8 and a heart brave enough to change the world.